felons. Could they help Joe Biden flip Florida? Well, that path just got a lot more difficult due to a new federal appeal court ruling. Here to talk about it is LN's legal affairs editor, Mr. Scott DeCosenza. Welcome, Scott.
Hi, Mark.
Scott, what's the story in Florida?
Floridians passed a constitutional amendment, a state constitutional amendment that granted felons the right to vote, and that was in 2018. Shortly after that, in 2019, the state passed legislation that required those people who wished to vote who had felony convictions to satisfy all of their convictions, including paying of fines and restitution. So money owed to the state that may be passed along to victims or survivors or just kept by the state. Some felons who wished to vote sued and said that there are a number of problems with that, including that it's an unconstitutional requirement altogether, and then also the way it was actually meted out was unconstitutional.
So what does this latest ruling say?
So the very latest ruling comes from the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, sitting en banc, which means that all of the available judges on that circuit sat in judgment of this case. It had already been heard by a smaller panel from that appeals court. And they said that the payment of the fines and restitution were part of the sentence, and that Florida could disqualify felons who have yet to pay all their dues. The case came down along party lines. All Republican-appointed judges on the court voted in the majority to allow Florida to disallow the votes of felons who have yet to satisfy all those financial obligations, and all of the Democrat appointees to that court, the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, voted to allow, or they would have allowed, those felons to vote without paying their dues. Basically, this is about whether or not, I think for a lot of people, Mark, the felon vote helps or hurts Joe Biden or Donald Trump from the viewer's perspective.
So, Scott, just to clarify something here, this original ruling only applies to people who have actually left prisons. They've completed the custodial part of their sentence. Is that right?
Yes. And in fact, what the entire question for the court was, is this payment of money part of a sentence, the sentence imposed? And they ruled in the majority that it is, in fact, part of the sentence imposed, and Florida is within its rights to keep those people from voting until they pay all their money.
So, Scott, how many people roughly does this ruling cover?
It's a little under 1 million Floridians who are felons who may be covered by it. Now, to the extent of how many of those people owe money that they may have to pay before they can vote, we don't know the answer to that, Mark. And part of what the plaintiffs said in their case was, in order to register to vote, a felon has to certify under penalty of perjury that they have paid all the monies that they owe to the state and to any victims. But it's very hard for them in many cases to determine exactly what that amount is. So it sort of sets them up for another issue, which is if they have certified it and then they turn out to be wrong, are they then eligible to be prosecuted for a future felony simply for the crime of trying to register to vote? So there are many problems with the law, in addition to the issue, just the sort of straight issue of whether or not they should be allowed to vote or not regarding their pay status.
Is this the wisest thing to be doing when we're just a few weeks out from a national election?
Mark, the courts don't have a choice to, except for the Supreme Court, I suppose, to take up business as they please. The lower courts have to manage the caseload that they're presented with. So,
there's obviously going to be some challenges to this, but is this something that is likely to go to the Supreme Court?
Mark, I don't think there's enough time for the Supreme Court to look at this case and decide it before the November elections, but I think the issue is important enough, and those people who wish to vote and who cannot pay, and those who advocate on their behalf, certainly will advance the case, or at least try to, before the Supreme Court.
Scott, many thanks to you.
Thanks, Mark.
And thanks to you at home.
Go deeper on the topic discussed in this video, head on over to one of these links here, or go to our Liberty Nation Roku channel. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for Liberty.